And when you go, tell them Michael Brown sent you.
Tonight, Michael Brown joins me here.
This is the former FEMA director.
Talk show host Michael Brown.
Brownie. Now.
Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
It's a heck of a show.
You're a political expert.
With Michael Brown.
You're on the radio.
On KOA News Radio.
So I want you to think about something for a minute. When you order anything from Amazon, Apple, Walmart, Sam's, I don't care, but anything that has to be shipped, you get a tracking number. Actually, you get an order number. You get a confirmation of your order. Then you get a tracking number, whether it's being shipped by FedEx or UPS or even USPS. And in most cases, you can watch as it goes from waypoint to waypoint. I ordered Angie and I needed a new laptop for this program. So I ordered and those of you who are Apple aficionados don't cringe when I say this, but the program that we need to run to do the interviews that we want to do requires Windows. So I ordered a custom-made Dell laptop. Of course, it's made by, some poor Chinese schmuck somewhere in Shanghai or somewhere. And eventually it will get to me, I think, Monday or Tuesday of next week. Now, the minute I placed the order, I got an order number and a confirmation that the order had been placed. And then I went to my credit card, and I could tell that they had put a pending charge because obviously Dell doesn't want to do anything until they know that the credit card's actually going to be accepted. And then I was able to watch as that laptop went through its build process. And then I got a notification, either last night or this morning, I forget when, that I now had a tracking number for FedEx. And it showed as it left, I think it was Shanghai, but I'm not sure. It left Shanghai and went to City of Industry in California, where it sits now, or it did this morning. And then it left City of Industry in California, probably headed to, I don't know, Memphis or maybe someplace between here and City of Industry, California. And I'm able to track it step by step by step. If you notice that when you voted last week, even if you did a mail-in ballot, you should have noticed that on your ballot was a barcode. That barcode identifies you. It identifies your name, your address, your party affiliation or lack thereof, and probably some additional information that I can't think of off the top of my head. And so when my mail-in ballot was received by the Douglas County Elections Board, they scanned that barcode. And I could go online and tell that my ballot had been received and that it would be counted. So let's go to Florida. Because Florida is like a little tin-horn dictatorship of some sort. It's a banana republic. Florida might just as well secede and become Cuba. What's going on in Florida shows that ballot security is probably one of the most important things that Republicans and Democrats completely ignore. What's more important than the sanctity of your vote? I mean, there's a lot of things more important than the sanctity of your vote, but when it comes to elections, what's more important than the sanctity of your vote? Nothing. Because if people who are not supposed to vote, vote, that disenfranchises someone who is legally allowed to vote. And if your vote gets stuffed in a box somewhere and then gets, squirreled away in a closet, never to be seen, the light of day, never to be seen again, that disenfranchises you. And here's the practical reality of what's happening in Florida. Preliminary results on Tuesday showed that Governor Rick Scott is unseating three-term Democrat Senator Bill Nelson. I know Bill Nelson from my days in Homeland Security, and I got to tell you, he's an utter goober. He's just a goober. But since Tuesday, the race has tightened. He was ahead by some 56,000 votes, and now he's ahead by just over 15,000 votes. And in Broward County and Palm Beach County, the election boards are, look at this. We just found a box of ballots. Now explain to me, my 87-year-old mother is still an election official down in Oklahoma. And I swear they've got more elections in Oklahoma, because every time I talk to her, she's got, I can't talk to you, I got an election coming up tomorrow. They've got more elections than I think dogs have fleas. But how difficult is it in this day and age when the private sector can tell me exactly where my laptop computer is? A confirmation of the order, a confirmation of when it's built, a confirmation of when it's shipped, and then once it's shipped, I can follow it all the way from Shanghai till it lands on the iHeart Death Star here either Monday or Tuesday. We can track anything. Why can't we track ballots? Even back in the old days, back in the 80s, when I was managing campaigns or running a campaign or actually a candidate in a campaign or two, I was told then that ballot security was probably one of the most important things that you could do besides the get out the vote that you would do on election day, because back then you actually had to go stand in line to vote. Now we're fast forward 30 years. 30 years, and with all of the technology we have what appears to be election fraud going on in Palm Beach and Broward County, Florida. Now, why is that a matter to anybody outside Palm Beach and Broward County? Because most people don't pay attention. How many of you, if you live in a state where it's a mail-in ballot, like Colorado, how many of you went online to see whether or not your ballot was actually even received? How many of you, even if you took your ballot, look, I'm one of these guys that I put like $40 worth of postage on it, I throw it in the mailbox, and I then check probably every day for 2 or 3 days afterwards to see if it is received. Just because I want to kind of see how long it takes for them to process it. Just a nerd that kind of way. How many of you actually, I don't care where you live, how many of you actually check to see whether or not your ballot was counted? Because if in Florida, if the Senate race is going down to 15,000 votes, and now suddenly they're finding ballot boxes hidden in closets, they're finding ballot boxes in the trunks of cars coming out of Miami-Dade or Hell's Bells, I don't know, coming across some boat from Havana, who knows where they're coming from? If we can't, in the United States of America, in 2018, conduct a clean, clear-cut election, then you know that the system is inherently flawed. And if our election system is inherently flawed, then how are we supposed to have any confidence that the ballots that we cast, and I don't care, look, well, actually I do care, but technically I don't care whether you vote for a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, a socialist, a communist, a Green Party, or a whatever. I just don't care. All I care about is if you do vote, that your vote gets counted and that it should be a legally sanctioned vote. In Colorado, we've elected I don't know how old she is, but to a guy like me, she looks like she's about 12, but maybe she's a little older than that, as Secretary of State with zero experience. Zero experience. I bet next election, whether it's a special bond election in your county, whether it's, I just don't care what kind of election it is. I bet next time every single one of you should, or you better, or I'm going to chastise you for not doing it, better get online and find out whether or not your vote was actually received in the county in which you voted. I bet a bunch of you right now are going to your county clerk, your county government websites, because you can still do it. You can go to the Secretary of State's website. It's really easy. You can punch in your last name, your first name, your date of birth, and maybe your address. I forget what it is, and you can search, and it'll tell you whether or not your ballot was received and authorized to be counted. You might want to check on it, although in Colorado it's not going to make any difference. But in Florida, it does. And so if anybody ever tells you I live in a blue state. I live in a red state. I live wherever I live. And it doesn't make any difference because, the Republicans are going to win or the Democrats are going to win, so it doesn't make any difference if I vote. Look at Florida. Look at Florida. In December of 2000, I was asked to get on a plane and fly to Tallahassee to sit with Joe Albaugh and James Baker and all the people doing the recount 18 years ago. 18 years ago. Remember the guy that had his eyes cross-eyed, looking at a Chad, holding the vote up to see whether it had actually been voted or not? You would think that in 18 years, with the advent of smartphones and all the technology we have and the ability to scan and do all of this stuff, that we would actually be able to conduct an election. And here we are, soon to be almost a week afterwards, and we don't know whether people have voted or not voted, and we don't know whether people have won or not won. And I think we're better than that. I think that we're better than that. But it also shows, to take this to its logical conclusion, that while Amazon, if I go on Amazon right now, Amazon can probably go back to my date of birth, back before Amazon even existed, and tell me everything that I've ordered, what day I received it, how much I paid for it, what day it was shipped, what day it arrived. And then, oh, by the way, they'd probably put some ads up about, well, you bought this, you might want to buy this too. Yet in Florida, we don't know whether ballots were counted or not. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. If you're not watching the story, I'd suggest you watch the story. I've said before, and I said on the inaugural show a couple of days ago, that one of the things I want to talk about is our culture. Because the culture, as Andrew Breitbart famously once said, it's kind of weird that Andrew Breitbart still follows me on Twitter, but that's okay. I'm just honored that Andrew Breitbart follows me. Follows me from the other side, I guess. Andrew pointed out, and was probably one of the first to really articulate, that the culture leads the politics, and that politics trails the culture. And here's a fantastic example of that right here in Little Oak, Colorado. Colorado State University administrators have designated this greeting as non-inclusive language. How many times have you ever said, "Hey, Billy Bob, long time no see"? Long time no see. Katrina Libby, who writes for the campus paper, the Rocky Mountain Collegian, says that phrase is not inclusive. Long time no see? I think that's a fantastic, albeit sad example of how when you start having identity politics, when you start having speech codes, when you start having limitations, when you start having the idea that something that you say that's protected by the First Amendment is instead going to be on a college campus, for example, designated as non-inclusive language, what are you doing? What you're doing is you're culturally training students that you've got to be careful about everything that you say. You'll soon learn after listening to this program over a period of time that while I'm very careful about what I say, my language likewise is very colorful. And this is an example of what I would call, on my Twitter account, I use this hashtag, probably for just about every single tweet that I ever send out, hashtag dumbassery. This is pure, unadulterated dumbassery. Libby up in Colorado State wrote that one of these phrases was "long time no see," which is viewed as derogatory toward those of Asian descent. Asian descent? I should have asked my son-in-law, who is part Korean, if I told him that next time I saw him, "Hey, long time no see," is he going to be offended by it? They've even discouraged the use of "you guys" in favor of "y'all." Now, I've tried desperately, since having grown up in Oklahoma, where we always say "y'all," I've tried to break the habit of saying "y'all." And now on the college campuses, they're saying that you should say "y'all" instead of "you guys." I said that just yesterday on the sales floor talking to some people. And I think the room was predominantly female. And when I got done, I said, well, I appreciate you guys talking to me, because if I'd said, hey, you gals, glad you talked to me, they'd accuse me of being sexist or misogynist or Lord knows what. You know, Orwell claims that if you can control the language, you can control people's minds. And I think this is a grand example of exactly what Orwell was talking about. You know, if you've got a rugrat that's going to college, I don't care whether it's Colorado State or CU or wherever it is, you ought to sit down sometime. You ought to get the student handbook. And you ought to find out whether or not your student, your rugrat student that you're paying a whole bunch of money for to get an education in basket weaving, whether or not they're being inculcated with this kind of idea that some language is deemed offensive to other people. Because if you walk around all your life worried about what you say, whether or not that's going to be offensive, what's the effect of that? The effect of that is it stifles your speech. Because if you're always afraid that something you say might be misinterpreted or might somehow is violating some speech code that you never heard about because you haven't been on a college campus in the last 15 minutes, you might walk up to some student, even an Asian student, and say, hey, Billy Bob, hey, Bubba, long time no see. And next thing you know, you've got some Title IX violation and you're getting kicked out of school, or your student's getting kicked out of school. That is a classic example of how the culture leads politics. And why can I claim that? I can claim that very simply because if you can put that in a speech code, in a college campus handbook, how long before people who believe in these kinds of speech codes and this kind of absolute stupidity start saying, well, you know what, we really need to make, it's like hate speech. What the hell is hate speech? We'll talk a lot over the course of the evolution of this program about constitutional legal matters, because one of my favorite ones is the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law. Very simple. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. And I know that a private organization, Twitter or Facebook, they can make their own rules and regulations. But we have a culture in this country that says we believe in free speech. And we recognize that the Constitution says that Congress shall make no law, but if your student, or even in your company, look at Google, look at what's going on in Google. If any of these, even in the private sector, start limiting what people can say because, we're afraid it might offend somebody somewhere, that evolves over time. And at some point, after a little bit of evolution, a little bit of progressivism, that then makes it into a statute or a policy or a rule somewhere. And suddenly you have to consult some sort of handbook before you can just have a regular conversation with a coworker or another student on a campus. And when we reach that level of hashtag dumbassery, that means that we lose creativity, we lose imagination, we lose the ability to express ourselves because we have to constantly be on our toes about whether or not something that we innocently say in the mind of someone else is offensive. And ask yourself this: how much control do you have over what someone else thinks? I have no control. I can come on these airwaves and I can try to persuade you and convince you, and I can try to change your perspective. I can try to get you for even a nanosecond to look at something from a different perspective and maybe change your mind, but I have no control over whether or not you do change your mind. Speech codes, like what's going on up at Colorado State University, are designed to create an atmosphere where no one's ever offended. How would you like? Now, some of you probably live in or work in places where you're offended every single day. But can you imagine living in a world where speech is so controlled and people's minds are the fear of God is set in people's minds where they're afraid to say something because they're afraid that it might offend somebody else? Think about every stupid movie you've seen. Think about everything you've ever watched on Netflix. Think about anything that you've ever had a conversation about where you just, hey, Bubba, long time no see. You do that at Colorado State University, apparently, and you violated a speech code. You've offended somebody. It's utter craziness.
I've got not one, but two buttons on my car radio for KOA. 94.1 FM for when I'm around town, and 850 AM for when I'm up in the mountains.
The news, weather, and traffic you need around town and around Colorado. KOA News Radio.
Sometimes in this business, you meet with a potential sponsor and you immediately connect knowing that this is somebody that if I needed their services, this is who I would turn to. I met one of those people recently, personal injury attorney Mark Simon. He personifies my view of what great lawyers should be: compassionate, caring, hardworking, and tenacious. We're bombarded with attorney ads on radio and television. Let me tell you why you should hire Mark Simon. Because I would. His deep conviction about caring for his clients stems from his background as a registered nurse. My respect stems from his experience. He takes only cases that are legitimate, where people have been denied just compensation for their injuries, and he does the work himself. As a lawyer, that means a lot to me. So if you, a friend, or a family member has been hurt in an accident or work or anywhere, call the lawyer I would call, Mark Simon, 303-321-HURT. 303-321-HURT, or visit coloradolawyer.net. That's coloradolawyer.net.
I recently learned that the average person spends 24 hours a week online. As a small business owner without a website, that means they spend exactly none of those hours with me. Yikes. I had to fix that and fix it quick. So I went with GoDaddy. I grabbed the right domain name, then chose from hundreds of modern, customizable designs created for all kinds of businesses, from restaurants to real estate. In no time, I connected my social profiles to my site and used simple tools to climb higher in relevant Google searches. And get this, I can update my site anytime, even from my phone. With no technical skills, I built my site in under an hour. And when I needed help, their award-winning 24/7 support was at the ready. Boom. Make your idea real, like I did, and make your own way. Start for free at GoDaddy.com. All the tools and help you need to succeed online.
Disney on Ice presents Dare to Dream. Believe in what's possible with characters from Moana, Frozen, Tangled, and Cinderella. Coming to the Pepsi Center December 6th to the 9th. Tickets start at just $15. Get tickets at DisneyOnIce.com. Additional fees apply.
iHeartRadio is recognizing the top podcasts in America based on the podcasts you say are the best. The iHeart Podcast Awards are coming, the first ever major podcast awards program where your vote will decide who wins. Over 20 categories like crime, comedy, music, sports, curiosity, hundreds of nominees, and special guests. The 2019 iHeartRadio Podcast Awards live from Los Angeles, January 2019. Cast your votes now at iHeartPodcastAwards.com.
Guys, get your sex life back. Thrive MD in Lone Tree has Gainswave, a revolutionary medical treatment for ED. Gainswave is painless. No shots, no pills. Visit GainswaveDenver.com or call 720-575-7878.
Are you or is someone you know struggling to eat or talk because of chronic dental issues? It's a more common problem than you may think, and I've got the perfect solution for you. Hi, it's April for Clear Choice Dental Implant Center. This is a convenient, comfortable dental implant treatment experience if you're looking for a long-term solution solution to your dental health issues. And I love this approach because whether you're replacing a full set of upper and lower teeth, multiple teeth, or just a single one, you'll work with one dedicated team at one convenient Denver location throughout the entire process. This innovative approach combines technology with compassionate care, which gives thousands of patients the confidence to end their discomfort and experience a life-changing dental transformation. For more information, visit clearchoice.com or call 888-234-7568 to schedule a free, no-obligation consultation. That's clearchoice.com or call 888-234-7568. Get back out there with dental implants from Clear Choice Dental Implant Center.
KOA News Radio,
an iHeart radio station.
KOA News Radio time, 7:30. At least 6 people killed and Paradise, California virtually decimated by the Camp Fire. The middle of the Northern California town and 2 outer areas are completely destroyed. Some people with loved ones there have no way of knowing if they're still alive.
Officials have told us there have been more than 600 requests for welfare checks. They have succeeded in reaching hundreds of people, but there are still hundreds outstanding. The biggest obstacle right now is just too dangerous to come back to Paradise, California.
ABC's Tom Yamas reporting. Explosive growth in the Woolsey fire in Southern California. It's now at 35,000 acres. It's forced the evacuation of Malibu and thousands of other homes. And the Hill Fire is burning near Thousand Oaks, where the community is still mourning after Wednesday's bar shooting that killed 12 people. Firefighters say gusty winds are fueling the fires. The gunman in the Thousand Oaks bar shooting paused to post on social media in between killing his victims.
At 11:27, he posted, "The only thing you people do after these shootings is hopes and prayers and wonder why these keep happening."
ABC's Kanye Whitworth. The owners of that bar in Thousand Oaks say they plan to reopen. Owner Brian Hines says the Borderline Bar and Grill will reopen after authorities finish their investigation. No word yet on when that will be. Our next news update at 8 o'clock. I'm Laura Hatch, KOA News Radio, 850 AM, 94.1 FM.
Still heaviest traffic down south, back up C-470 eastbound at Santa Fe, pushing traffic to Wadsworth. CDOT advising drivers to find alternative routes. No other problems past that. I-25 northbound looking better. An accident at Dry Creek now gone and traffic moving well from Lone Tree, but a new crash southbound at I-25. On I-25 at Dry Creek and pushing traffic back to Arapahoe. Other than that, I-25 looking good through the middle of town, and then up on I-70, traffic sluggish westbound from Monaco to Vasquez with a crash on the right side, so stay in the left lane. CBS 4 weather, clear to partly cloudy tonight, a low of 29. Partly cloudy tomorrow with a high of 56. This report is sponsored by the Epic Local Pass. The Epic Local Pass gets you access to Vail, Beaver Creek, Breck, Keystone, Arapahoe Basin for only $709. Now includes unlimited, unrestricted access to Crested Butte. Last chance to get your pass is November 18th. Visit epicpass.com today. I'm Davita Wright on KOA News Radio, Colorado's news, traffic, and weather station.
I've bought more guns at one place than any other place in my life, and that's at 14th and Arapahoe in Boulder. Gunsport is our kind of store, and I think that's where you ought to be buying your firearms too. You're going to find quality firearms and knives. They've got a large selection of ammo, scopes, holsters, books. They buy, sell, trade, and they take consignment. Gunsport is family-owned, and they treat us like family. A family-run business where they focus on atmosphere, and they focus on us. Everybody from the old hard gun vets to the person that's never shot before, Ross, the owner, and Jason, his son, are going to treat us all the same. They've got rare ammo, collector's guns, you name it, they've got it or they can get it. So I want you to drive up to Boulder and see for yourself why I've spent more money at Gunsport than any other single location. 14th and Arapahoe in Boulder. You can't miss this grand old building. Trust me, once you turn the corner, you'll understand why. And once you go inside, you'll understand why I love this place. 14th and Arapahoe, or online, gunsport.us. And when you go, tell them Michael Brown sent you.
No excuses. Get a grip. All you've done is whine, whine, whine. Well, enough already. O'Mara can solve your dilemma. Check out OmaraMotors.com and choose your next set of wheels from Ford trucks and SUVs to GMC Sierra and Canyons, or maybe Volkswagen Golf, Atlas, or Tiguan. Now that's nothing to whine about. Visit OmaraMotors.com and voila, problem solved. You get a new set of wheels and the whining stops. Ah, much better.
This is Barb Harris for Greenberry Cereals. You may know that Grainberry is known for nutritious whole grains and natural antioxidants. But now, I'd like to tell you about new grainberry cereals with remarkable onyx. Onyx Black Sorghum was perfected at Texas A&M University. Its health benefits are remarkable, like neutralizing a full range of free radical threats to your body, from the sun's rays to normal digestion and everything in between. Not only more powerful antioxidants, Onyx helps control sugar metabolism in your body. It slows down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. And Grainberry Onyx has natural fiber grown within the plant itself, so you don't have to borrow fiber as some cereals do. Also, Grainberry pancake and waffle, cookie, brownie, and muffin mixes, all with remarkable Onyx. Time to give your body some real support. Grainberry with Onyx.
Available at your local Whole Foods.
Grainberry, Grainberry.
Hi, we're the free iHeartRadio app. We'd like to reintroduce ourselves. You may already know iHeartRadio lets you listen to all your favorite radio stations. But did you know the same free iHeartRadio app has all your favorite podcasts? Over 20,000 podcasts. Find your favorite. Make iHeartRadio your podcast player. One app for everything you love. Download the app and try it now. iHeartRadio, your music, stations, and podcasts. Anytime, anywhere.
iHeartRadio.
Connect with Michael Brown. Find him on social media through KOANewsRadio.com.
Take a bus downtown to the graveyard shift tonight. Under the red hot moon, take a bus downtown to the graveyard shift tonight.
KC's, California's got a reputation.
Let me just jump on that promo and remind you that I really would like for you to follow us on social media. Go to KOANewsRadio.com, pull down the Michael Brown Show page, and right there, we make it so simple that even, well, I won't say that because, well, I'll put it this way. We make it so simple that a goober could do it. So if you go to KOANewsRadio.com, got that? Then over there you'll see On Air. That's me. I'm on air right now. And if you go over to the On Air and you pull down, you'll see my name. It's fascinating how they figure this out. And then you click on my name, and then right there you got the YouTubes, you got the Twitter, you got the Facebook, and if you scroll down, you can find the Instagram. Here's why you need to do it. Because not only will, and look, I would give out the text message number, but we don't have the login credentials for it yet, so I can't use it yet. But we'll have the phone lines, we'll have the text messages, we'll have the YouTube, we'll have the Twitter, we'll have the Facebook, and you got to join the YouTube and Facebook conversation because, well, there's a bunch of really nice goobers over there, and they know they're goobers, and they're lovable goobers. Speaking of goobers, sometimes politicians say things, and I like to mock them. Nancy Pelosi was giddy the other day after she found out that the Democrats had taken control of the House of Representatives. Now, I think last I checked, even though they gained 30-some seats, their majority is only about 15 seats or maybe 18 seats. 218, I think, 218 is the number you need to control the House of Representatives. And I think they're at like 220 or 30. It's not that big of a deal. But anyway, Nancy was really giddy. And I think she's giddy because I think she thinks she's going to be reelected as Speaker of the House. And, of course, I kind of hope she is too. But during a press conference, see if you can figure out what I think is hilarious.
It's about stopping the GOP and Mitch McConnell's assault on Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, and the health care of 130 million Americans living with pre-existing medical conditions. Let's hear it more for pre-existing medical conditions.
What? Now, I hope you don't have a pre-existing medical condition. I saw the best joke the other day. Somebody called an urgent care and said they had a cough in their throat or they had something that they needed checked. and they couldn't get in until the next day. So they were asked to call back the next day, and they called back the next day. And then they were told, oh, you called last night about this. Well, today it's a pre-existing condition. Okay, I thought it was funny. Did you catch what she said, though? You never know whether they mean it or don't mean it. Let's hear it for pre-existing conditions? That's like when someone wins a trophy. Of course, we give trophies for everything, right? So your kids win trophies, and they're up on the stage, and there's Bobby, and there's Susie, and there's little Randy, and there's Harry, and there's, well, the loser, whatever the loser's name is. And the principal says, let's give it up for little Susie and little Billy Bob and all the rest of them. Let's give it up. Yeah, let's hear
it more for pre-existing medical conditions.
Let's hear it more for pre-existing medical conditions? Okay, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But that's kind of like, oh, by the way, so some of you have asked, where's Christian Toto? Christian Toto tonight is on the podcast. So again, if you go to KOE, oh, no, that's right. We have to go to Spreaker first because we have to have 5 of them before the iHeart page will pick it up. So if you want to hear Hollywood and Toto for tonight, go to Spreaker.com. It's not speaker, it's Spreaker. SPREAKER.com. Pull up the Michael Brown Show, and you'll see Hollywood and Toto for tonight, and you can hear tonight's Hollywood and Toto. We haven't quite figured out where we're going to put this yet, but right now it's on the podcast. And if you are already subscribed on iTunes, then, well, you've already gotten it and you've already heard it. But if you haven't, you should hear it. Speaking of the culture, one of the things that Christian and I like to do is we like to make fun of a program that airs during the day called The View. And we like to make fun of The View because, well, it's sadly stupid. Now, I know all of you understand what gerrymandering is. Gerrymandering where you take, in Colorado, we have 7 congressional districts, and the state legislature, every 10 years after the census, draws up those congressional districts. And so they try to, as best they can, draw out safe seats for the incumbents. So the incumbents are pretty much guaranteed that they'll get reelected until the dinosaurs return, or until they turn into dinosaurs. I'm not sure which would come first. Every state has 2 U.S. senators. Every state. Little old Rhode Island, great big old Alaska, little old Colorado. We all have 2 U.S. senators. And that's by design because the Founding Fathers thought what we need to do is we need to make certain that the lower house, which represents the individuals, the citizens in the states, this is prior to the 17th Amendment, that every state, both large and small, are treated equally. Balances it out. Now, if every state has 2 U.S. senators, and those senators represent the entire state, it's hard to gerrymander an entire state because, well, their boundaries are the state. Joy Behar has a guest on, some strategist talking about the election results, and during the course of that,
won the popular vote last night by 8 million votes, right?
Now, I could go off on a tangent about the popular vote, but we're not going to do that. The popular vote, though, really only doesn't really apply even in the presidential elections, but people like, I guess it's like a parlor game. Who won the popular vote? Doesn't really make any difference. What matters is who won the electoral votes for the Electoral College. But I digress.
Won the popular vote last night by 8 million votes, right? They lose, but they lose U.S. Senate races in red areas.
Because of gerrymandering, a lot of it.
Not
because of gerrymandering. The Founding Fathers said that one of the ways that a republic, which is what we are, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, that one of the ways that we would survive as a republic is that we would have to have an informed citizenry. that people would have to understand not only that we are a republic, but, how laws are made. Remember maybe when you were growing up that on Sesame Street there would be the little thing about how a bill is, how a bill becomes a law. I don't think they even teach that anymore. Most of us understand that senators can't be gerrymandered because they represent the entire state. But The View, from my point of view, is another great example of how the culture is dumbing down the country. Because how can someone who has a national television show that is watched by I would guess at least a couple of million people, Hell's Bells, even the evening news programs get 4 million people, so The View probably gets double that, who knows? That they would understand that no, gerrymandering is not what happens at the Senate.
Won the popular vote last night by 8 million votes, right? They lose, but they lose U.S. Senate races in red areas.
Because of gerrymandering.
And Joy Behar says, well, they lost in red states because of gerrymandering. This individual, I don't know who it is, some strategist, then tries to explain to Joy, well, no, not exactly, because...
Well, that's not that's the Constitution. I mean, you can't... the districts are gerrymandered, but the states are part of the Constitution.
Okay. Oh, okay. So he explains it to her, and her response is, oh, okay. Right over her head. Right over her head. I don't know. I don't know what to say. The problem that we have is our society has become so complex. We have become so compartmentalized in what we do, and everybody is so busy doing, whatever they do to make a living, to raise their kids and to put them through college, or to do whatever they're doing to put themselves through college, that I get it. That if you're not teaching civics, if you're not teaching how our government operates in public schools, or for that matter, even the university level, then how are we to expect that The View would understand that senators are not gerrymandered? I don't think we should expect that. Another example of how I think sometimes we've just gone off the deep end. If you ever fly, you know that, well, I can tell you right now, like in the studio, I failed tonight I usually wipe down the console where I'm sitting because, well, by the time I get in here in the evening, about 5,000 people have been here, and I don't know what they've been doing. They've been picking their nose, or they've been sneezing, or they've been doing whatever. Probably Mandy Connell doing it a lot, probably her doing it a lot. And I've watched people get on airplanes and take the Clorox wipes, and they'll wipe their seat, or they'll wipe the tray table, or some people will just sit down and they never touch anything. What if you're this guy?
Matthew Meehan is from Michigan, but now lives in Florida, and he says he was disgusted not long after boarding a flight from Atlanta to Miami.
It was feces, and it was everywhere. It was on my seat, it was on the floor, my feet.
It's kind of hard to understand because he's talking over Skype or something, but he says that he sat down and realized he was sitting in feces. I hope it was at least coach. Surely it wasn't first class.
We're in it.
Meehan says he jumped up and asked the flight crew for help.
This is all I was given, 2 paper towels and a bottle, one of those little bottles of Bombay Sapphire. I was in the bathroom.
See, this is the best part to me. So think about this. So you've boarded an airplane, you've sat down, and there's dog poop everywhere. Dog poop everywhere. So you ring the call button, the flight attendant comes back, and you say, hey, I really don't want to complain, because I paid $1,012 for this seat one way, and there's dog poop. And the flight attendant says, oh, we're so sorry. We'll be right back. And they come back with 2 paper towels and a mini bottle of gin. Bombay Sapphire, that's a gin. So they've given you a little bottle of gin and 2 paper towels to clean up the dog poop in your airline seat.
cleaning feces off of the backs of my legs.
And Meehan says he was stunned when he got off the plane to speak to a manager.
She said, well, that's not my problem. I said, I'm sorry. She says, well, if the cleaning crew didn't clean your seat, I don't have any control over that.
The feces.
Another example of the culture of how we now, oh yeah, not my job. Not my job. That's the cleaning crew's job, and I can't do anything. Talk about crappy customer service. How about just saying, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. Can we, in fact, if you'll stand up, we'll clean it up for you. How about that?
These were from someone's service dog that became ill on the plane earlier. Meehan says because some passengers refused to sit down until it was cleaned up, someone simply used some paper towels, and passengers then laid down blankets, but they still had to endure the smell.
It filled the entire plastic bag, paper towels full of feces, and they wanted me to sit in that.
A spokesperson for Delta apologized to some of the customers on the flight and offered a refund and additional compensation, adding that Delta will conduct a full investigation to prevent this from happening again.
You'll soon learn that that's my other favorite phrase, not. That we're going to do something so it never happens again. How many times do you hear someone on television? It's usually tied to a tragedy. There's some horrific tragedy. A drunk driver kills someone. And I'm not trying to make fun or mock of a drunk driver killing somebody. I'm just pointing out that usually when there's a tragedy, somebody goes on television and they say, oh, you know what, I'm going to make certain that this never happens again. Of course, then it just happens the very next day somewhere else. So anytime somebody tells me that they're going to do something so that X never happens again, I get pretty riled up. Because, well, like on the Delta flight, poop happens. Poop happens. Bloomberg has reported that more senior citizens have entered the fast food market as those restaurants have actively aimed to recruit senior citizens. You may recall Wednesday evening, we had a caller that was describing how he was going to school. I think it was to become a welder, or maybe he had finished school to become a welder. But the point was he had busted his butt so he could get through school and either was graduating from welding school or had just graduated from welding class. But either way, the point is he was doing whatever he could to make a living. Now, senior citizens are taking jobs that were designed for entry-level people. McDonald's, or as I like to call it, McDonald's. There's a certain bagel place that I go to, not religiously, but I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times a month or something. And I was there the other day, and it was early, and it was like 6:30 in the morning. Boy, that's going to change, isn't it, Angie? Yeah, I won't be going to get a bagel at 6:30 in the morning pretty soon. And I noticed that the 2 managers were talking, and they've kind of gotten to know me over the years. And I kind of listened for a second while they were fixing my bagel, and it turns out that a bunch of people hadn't showed up for work. And so I engaged them in conversation and said, is this normal? And they rolled their eyes and basically said, the problem is not only do they not show up for work, but we can't fire them because it's so hard to find somebody else to come and take the job. Senior citizens. That's what McDonald's is doing. Go work at McDonald's. Wouldn't you rather work at McDonald's, put a smile on somebody's face, than be a Walmart greeter?
I reference McDonald's a lot because I go to McDonald's. I love the silence that follows that statement. Like I just admitted to support dog fighting or something. How could you? McDonald's? It's fun telling people you go to McDonald's. They always give you that look like, oh, I didn't know I was better than you. No one admits to going to McDonald's. They sell 6 billion hamburgers a day. There's only 300 million people in this country. It's like, I'm not a calculus teacher, but I think everyone's lying. You ever been at McDonald's and you see a friend for a second, you're like, oh, crap. Eventually, you're like, hey, what's going on? And they're just like, I'm just here for the 99-cent ATM. What are you doing here, Jim? I'm just meeting a hooker.
I'm just meeting a hooker. Stevenson Williams, 63, manages a Church's Chicken in North Charleston, South Carolina. He's in charge of 13 employees, having worked his way up from a cleaning and dishwashing job that he started about 4 years ago, and sometimes works as many as 70 hours a week when it's busy. Who is Stevenson Williams? He's a retired construction worker. He'd never worked at a restaurant before, but was bored staying at home. You know, I think if I ran a fast food place, I might be more likely, and well, it depends on the kid, too. It depends on the teenager. But I might be more likely to hire a senior citizen that's going to be reliable and dependable and actually knows how to say please and thank you, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, than some goober kid that doesn't. Just thinking. One last request, KOANewsRadio.com. Sign up for our social media accounts so we can continue the conversation over there.
That's pretty much all I got.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
The Buffaloes are back in Boulder. Hi, this is Mark Johnson. Tomorrow, the Buffs entertain number 10 Washington State at Folsom Field. Our pregame coverage begins